stories. Yeah, I'm like, which light? And they're
That's
yeah.
okay. There's a lot that goes into this whole production process, right?
Right. So I'm testing a whole new one.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, so
Nice. I'm loving the festivities. I'm looking at that painting in the background. What's
oh
going on?
yes. So this is well, it doesn't signify that she's in church, but it's a black woman praying. She's holding a Bible. I forget where I found this. I found it years ago. But yeah, I just really love it. So
Yeah.
Jack saw it, my strategist and Jack saw it. He's like, Shonique, yes, I want your he wants my podcast, all my audio, visual things to be with this in the background,
I
where
love it.
this area is gonna be my yard sign when they get here. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm wondering, I guess on that note, about your brand a little bit because I feel like the brand is still forming, and I know brand sounds corporate, but every candidate has a brand, right? And I think it's becoming even more important these days. And I was looking at your campaign video. I was wondering, is that animation, was that done through AI or is that a filter or
Oh
like how was
no.
that done?
So actually, it's not. I learned from my strategist, actually, again from Jack Yao, that the Democrats, especially progressive Democrats, there has been a pledge to not utilize AI in our
Okay.
campaigns, in our work, that way to make sure we're bringing forward true and real content. So no AI, it is animation. Clearly, it's a great media team put together that animation, and I'm so happy for it because I didn't know about it ahead of time. I learned about it like days before it started moving forward in production. I was, doing a typical campaign video, is the way that I would like to say that. It wasn't the
Mhm.
typical, but somewhat typical. And then Jack shot to me like, "Hey, we'll read this script and we're gonna use animation actually." So yeah, it was like, yeah. Glad
That's so
I
awesome.
made that move because I love it. I absolutely love it. So I didn't see it ahead of time. I saw it, not even throughout the production. I saw it at the end, and
Yeah.
once it's already done and cleaned up, and absolutely fell in love. So I'm so happy for it.
That's good. That's good. And I wanted to know, do you have more on the way, like more campaign outreach, or do you have any
Oh,
kind
you
of
trying to get
plans?
all behind the scenes here, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean that's I
Um,
love a good production, you know?
Yeah, so we have all types of things in store, and it's great. So when I was shooting the initial content, there was an interview that was done. I'll call it an interview. It was sort of kind of off the script, but the photographer that was shooting my original content, we start talking everything from policies and perspective and all of that great stuff. So we turned that into some shorts, YouTube shorts, as well as some reels that will be rolling out. We have a strategy and a plan, of course, for when certain content's coming forward. I have had the great opportunity to be a part of several podcasts, including the Far Left Show and some
Hey,
others.
let's
And so
go.
in there, it's strategy with all of it, as far as like just how we roll things out. And a
Mm.
lot of this content will be rolled out in the form of YouTube shorts, as well as things that can be shared out on TikTok, Instagram,
Yeah.
that. So I'm excited how we're going to roll yours out. I know that you're definitely on YouTube, but seeing how we're going to roll it out with TikTok and Instagram and all that great stuff too.
Perfect. I just learned about Reels. I mean, I consumed Reels for a long time, but I didn't
Okay.
realize the utility of them because you can go and post a clip, maybe the most interesting or what'll grab people's attention, and
Right.
people will share that much more frequently, and like there's much higher probability of them doing that than just a long form interview, which is great. It's you just got to learn how to like work with the media environment, right?
Trust me, we're learning this together because you
Yeah.
have to teach me some of this. So I actually never had TikTok
Yeah.
until about what has it been 2 weeks now for the campaign. So I have the campaign is basically on every form of social media, and so I had to learn TikTok. I am learning TikTok and its use, and everyone's like, "You would be a great personality for TikTok. Like TikTok is
Yeah.
for stories, and you love storytelling." So I actually went through a training for
Uh,
TikTok the other day, like hour-long training, learning how to upload content on TikTok because, as you've already said, certain things perform different, right? So you might
mm,
like hit, semi-viral or viral on YouTube, and then you can take that same material over to Instagram. You would have
yeah.
to like pick and pull apart like the area that would fit the Instagram population. So it's all
Mhm.
this stuff where I don't know how to do all that shit. So that's what the team is for. So they're teaching me like, hey,
Yeah.
what we put here, this is what we put there. And then they just run back by me. I give the final say. So like, yeah, that's good to go. But the content's all genuine and authentic. We just have to cut it up and move it around for the different platforms. Something
Mm.
that social media influencers are well aware of. And so you can't knock
But
social media influencers because it is really an art and a skill that they have to go through to keep up that audience and that participation.
it is. And just like one last quick note, I call it season one of the Far Left Show, which was
Okay.
much more I felt like it was a friendlier environment for progressives, let's say 2017 to 2020, 21. It was a little bit more happy-go-lucky, like kind of, it was nice, it was easy to bring in candidates. But now, at least the way that I feel it, especially with a name like the Far Left Show, back in the day, it was almost cute. It was like silly. It's like, okay, it's the Far Left Show. But now I'm like, oh, I have to double down on the fact that this is the Far Left Show now,
Yeah.
specifically with this political culture that we're in, which has been, in my mind, fascist, in my mind, right wing, and like all these things. And I think people are afraid of speaking out. And I wanted to get into specifically your story because your story has a lot, there's a lot to it.
A
And
lot.
I was trying to keep track of everything. There's foster care, there's domestic abuse, there's starting your own foundation. And I want to get into, and I want to hear from you all those different steps and how they contributed to your political kind of like growth and understanding of how things work and the part that you wanted to play in the world.
Absolutely. So, yeah, it's a great thing in some aspects, right? But not in others that I have had the unfortunate but fortunate ability to go through some of the systematic, oppressions and the barriers that community members are currently going through, specifically for the district I'm running for, District 41, as well as the state of California, as well as the nation. I say unfortunately but fortunately because I do believe to be an effective leader, it's one thing to have the work experience. It's one thing to have the education, the degrees, right? Because in all actuality, most people can acquire that, right? Most people in some aspect can go get a degree, can go have a certain level of work experience. It's a whole different conversation when you yourself have lived through homelessness, when you yourself have lived through foster care, you yourself has been, a recipient of welfare benefits. It's very different because when you are advocating and fighting for your community that is still receiving those benefits or in need of those benefits or fighting through those barriers, at least for me, you can place yourself in their shoes and you remember the struggles and the difficulties you experienced. And so you fight a little different. And I won't even say a little bit, you fight very different
Oh
because
yeah.
for me, I remember the struggles, I remember the difficulties. And for someone that is, highly intelligent, articulate, I have this background of education and work experience, all the barriers that I faced and the difficulties I faced, I can only imagine community members that do not have the same resources and the access to the tools that I was able to, find for myself. So we could touch from, I don't even know which part you want to, touch from. Unfortunately, as we've already highlighted, I went through child abuse. That child abuse led me to foster care. And then that foster care situation led me to homelessness when I aged out. The homelessness led me to domestic violence. And after being that victim of domestic violence and calling the police for help, that's what led to my wrongful incarceration. And then, so it's all these adversities and all these barriers. So let me know which one is which angle, because all of that shaped me and all of that put me into the perspective that I'm currently in of it has to be people that have these lived experiences running for office. So I knew, because I get asked this question a lot, I knew I was going to run for an office. I didn't know what that office was going to be, and I didn't know exactly when. I was thinking it was going to be 2028 because I graduate law school in 2026, April of 2026. So
Oh, let's
initially,
go.
let's go. So initially, I knew I was running for an office, even though I didn't know which one. I thought it was going to be in 2028. So I was coming regardless. I was coming for an office. However, with the current president and administration we have and all the nonsense and the bullshit they've been doing, of course, we went from the gerrymandering in Texas to Proposition 50 here in California. So when that started happening, I was eyeing District 41 already in Riverside County. And that would have been me running against Ken Calvert. I'm originally from Riverside County.
Oh,
So
okay.
Yes, Riverside County is where I experienced my injustices that led to my wrongful conviction, overzealous prosecution. So I was already eyeing that seat. I was already eyeing that Republican. I already wanted to come for him. And then when Prop 50 moved the district into Los Angeles and Orange County, for me, it even more so solidified that that was the seat that I needed to run for because I was like, oh,
Yeah.
no, I don't even have to switch counties. And this is now an open seat. This is a great opportunity for new leadership, a new generation, a new voice. Like, let's go. So
Well,
that's what brought me full circle.
yeah, what are the new what's that new district? What parts of Los Angeles and Orange County do they comprise
So
of?
it covers Southeast Los Angeles and parts of North Orange County. So for North Orange County, that's going to be La Habra and parts of
Oh,
Brea. Interestingly enough, it's not all of Brea, it's parts of Brea, but all of La Habra. And then for Southeast Los Angeles, you have a lot of cities, everything from Whittier, Lakewood, Downey, Norwalk, La Mirada, Los Alamitos. Who am I missing?
oh,
So
you've got this.
yes,
Wait,
oh, I
you've
got
got
it.
this.
I'm
That's
like, I know
not
the city, so
Republican,
I
right?
apologize if I didn't call out your city, but I know my district, so
That I think that's a very winnable district now that I'm hearing all those different places. I mean, North Orange County, I think is good, much better than South, right? I think you have you have the electorate there to make it work. I mean, is it predicted to go like safely Democrat? I would
well,
assume
I call
so.
out everybody for what they are. So I
Yeah,
won't say, what I will say is this is a safe blue district, right? So
yeah.
all the great background data that gets done, polls that gets pulled. It's not a swing district. It's not purple. It is absolutely a Democrat district. However, there is a difference of a progressive Democrat, a
Yeah.
centrist, as well as moderate. So while I know that I will be not only a great representative, the best representative for the district, there are some people within the district, elected officials. I'm only speaking about them at this time, not community members, but
Yes.
there are a lot of elected officials that have clung tight to the traditional constraints of the political parties, that
Mm.
have that they hone in on certain other elected officials, not because they're the best and most effective when it comes to the district, when it comes to the seat, but because of just relationship, really. And
Yeah.
I've been challenging that of like, hey, well, what is it about this person's policies you like? What is it about this person's issues? What has this person done when they've been in office? And there's not answers to that. There's crickets to that. It always refers
Yeah.
back to, oh, well, I've known them for XYZ. That's not what I asked you. Because
That's such Yeah, and I'm from California, and I was involved in like the political spaces there, and so I'm going to speak directly with like personal feelings about that. But California, and I can't speak for many other states, but I feel like California, from what I know, it's such a like who do you know? That's where we're going to go, even with progressives, and I think that's very problematic considering let's talk Los Angeles City Council, the whole controversy we had there with the gerrymandering, that leaked audio call, or I think it was a conversation. Nuri Martinez had to resign. I think it was Gil Cedillo resigned. The president of the Labor Fed had to resign. And Kevin De Leon was the only one who was holding out, right? And that was my city council district at the time. And we were able to get him out with Isabel Jurado, who's an amazing, amazing progressive there. And I think that's also an important thing is that there was an argument kind of like we have to stick with the more moderate, not go with like someone who's more progressive. But I think what people, certain constituencies or communities maybe, need to see is that the younger generation is actually more progressive and more ready to kind of throw down for these candidates. And that's what I'm excited to see for this upcoming election is I think that there's going to be more of that. That's kind of my spiel on it.
Yeah, well, you invited me to the Far Left show, so we get to be very real and we get to be very honest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. No, we do.
I love being invited into this space for that very reason because everything you highlighted is the truth for the makeup, at least here in California, right?
Hmm.
And my thing is, right now I'm fighting through with my own party. I call my own party out on their bullshit too. It's
Yeah.
like I'm not going to get in here and only go up against Trump and his administration, the Republican Party or MAGA, because the reason this country is in the state and the condition it is also due to the ineffectiveness of Democrats.
Yes.
Trump and his administration would not have been able to do the things to our community and our community members that it has done if we had strong, bold, vocal Democrats in office. It wouldn't have happened. It would not have happened. And on top of that, when we do have strong representatives in office that are willing to speak up and speak out to these injustices, they're called everything from loud to ghetto
Yep.
to, you already know that's what happens. And unfortunately, more common than not, the people that are willing to stand up and boldly, speak out against the administration, as we know, are typically women and
Mhm.
women of color.
Yep.
And so America doesn't want to admit it is racist, yes, but it's more sexist than racist in many ways. And so it's
Absolutely.
like we are expected as women to, just be cute, be quiet, do what you got to do and get in there and get out. And it's like, no, that's not what I signed up for. I signed up to represent my district. I signed up to represent my state, my country, whatever position that person is in. But America doesn't really like it when you get into your role, your respective role, whatever that is, or even as you're running your campaign and you do exactly what they say. You fight. It's like, well, do you want somebody to fight for you? Do you want somebody to stand up for you or not? Because if you don't want it, just say that, but don't keep
Yeah.
saying that you want someone to fight and they don't. Almost every space I'm invited into, I talk about the fact that the current president and his administration, they're loud and wrong. All,
Hmm.
not some of the time, they're always loud and wrong, but one thing that they do that everyone can agree to is they remain on firm on whatever it is they're talking about. Don't matter how wrong they are, they remain firm on that. The
Yes.
Democratic Party, they fold. We fold. It's like we'll say,
Mhm.
oh, we need to speak out against this and we need to do that and we need to do that. And then the energy is only there for a couple days, maybe a couple weeks. And then we're folding and then we're wondering why we have young adults, specifically young adults that are no longer interested in politics. They don't want to stand behind a candidate. They don't want to because it's like, well, I'm trying to choose the lesser of two evils. That's genuinely how they see it because it's like,
Yeah.
well, they're all liars and all politicians are liars. And it's like, we know that's not true. All politicians are not liars,
Yes.
right? But
So
people do think that.
yeah, there's this thing that I have grown increasingly frustrated with the left on, and it's specifically that all politicians are liars. And I think that when it comes to these harsh criticisms towards, let's say AOC, I think AOC is at the top of that harsh criticism, but a
Yes.
lot there's a lot towards Ilhan Omar, there was towards Cori Bush. And I remember when I was in California, I mean, to be honest, I'd go to fundraisers for Cori Bush just to increase her security because she would be getting death threats from white supremacists across the country. And I think there's a certain level of like, hey, just being in these positions and truly fighting brings on so much animosity that I really wish the left would just like take a second to realize that electeds are people, you know? And I think, and this is a through line that I want to just put out there. I agree with you that the sexism is almost subconscious for people who claim to be progressive or leftist. I'd say that there's a lot of confusion going on, and the right loves that confusion. They love for us to not stand together. And I think it's really important. And I'm not saying I'm not the kind of person that says blue no matter who, or like, we're gonna
Oh,
support
I do.
whatever it is. Yeah, but I
No,
do
I'm kidding.
think no, but I do think that like it's pivotal, like especially what's happening with even like Ilhan Omar right now and the rhetoric against the Somali immigrants. It's like, and not even just immigrants, just the Somali community in
Right.
general. It's like we gotta stand together, and that that means like truly stand together in this moment, or else it's not going to work. So that's kind of my rant there.
No, you're good. You touched on so many things that,
Yeah.
I want to speak to. So for one, crazy as it sounds, a couple weeks ago when I first launched, I've been launched for like a month now on my campaign. A couple weeks ago, I had some bot commenting on Instagram and it was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, whatever, you woke clown. And it was all that like, so I'm laughing at it, right? So I was like, oh, girl, you doing what you got to do because here go the bots coming in. And, then several days ago on TikTok, someone wrote, I'm sorry, no, Twitter, someone wrote to, they were responding actually to my narrative video that we know is awesome, right? They responded and they said, they already have Jasmine Crockett. They don't need another ghetto rap. So
Yeah.
I was talking to one of the other podcasters. We were sharing out some content. I said, "Oh, I'm about to lick their ass up." Like, so it was funny to me. Like it was like it wasn't, it didn't, it's unfortunate because as I'm talking to this particular podcaster, he's a Gen Z, a young white kid, and he's freaking awesome, right? So I'm talking to him, and I'm like, he apologizes, and I'm like, no, unfortunately, like I get it, you know what I mean? But unfortunately, we don't even know the color of this person behind the screen. So there's that. So you don't even got to apologize assuming or thinking it's a white person because the truth and the reality is there's black Republicans, there's black MAGA, there's Hispanic MAGA. Like you never know who this person is, right? But also, I said I would have not made it to the space that I am being a young, successful black woman and not unfortunately experience this hatred and this harm before. Like you can't get to certain spaces
Mhm.
without learning how to have this tough skin and to endure it. So it's not something that, you want to experience, but it's something that you unfortunately know comes with the territory. The more successful you are as a woman of a woman, and then being a woman
Mhm.
of color, unfortunately, that is in some people's minds an opportunity for them to express more hatred and more ignorance towards you. So you do have to learn how to have a tough skin. I would love for people to look at us as like, oh, we're human too, right? But that just takes us it takes us into so many spaces and places because we're not created equal. And by we, meaning I don't care if I'm talking about a woman, I don't care if I'm talking about the fact that I'm black, like we are not created equal. And so there's constantly a fight of having to prove, hey, I deserve to be in this space just like you. I deserve this. And it's constantly a fight for that. I won't necessarily say I fight like you don't want me at your table, fuck your table. Like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
pull a seat up to your table. No, I'm gonna go get my own table, build my own shit, put my own chairs up there, and then I'm gonna invite people into that space that want to be in that space with me. I'm not worried about your table, but also we also know in this space, even amongst our own party and all that, once you prove viability, and then you have this fake form of respect. Oh, now people want to invite you out. And it's like, wait, but remember, I reached out to you and I
Yep.
asked you to support me on my campaign. I asked, even if you don't endorse me at this time, can we just sit down and have lunch? Can we just sit down and have coffee so I can just talk to you about my platform? You shut me down. Like, it's one thing
Mhm.
if you shut me down because you know my policies and my issues and the things that, and it doesn't align with you. That's
Yes.
that's fine. But you wouldn't even give me the opportunity in the room to speak because I don't have a certain relationship with whatever person you want me to have a relationship with, right?
hmm And I feel the same way with in terms of media. I've always wanted to be in theater or music or film or things like that, but I already
You'd
know
be
what
good
the
at
end.
it because I did watch season one. I sure did watch a lot of the videos, so
Thank
the
you.
animation is there.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that the industry itself is so difficult and it's so hard to get into these spaces. I think for anyone at this point, especially with the cuts that happen for writers, for actors, the use of AI in the industry now, that I tell myself, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do my own thing. And I consider this also like part of my work. I go to Columbia University. I'm a graduate student here in international affairs, and I
Oh,
consider it my own sort of investigative journalism or reporting or learning because most of what we do, a lot of it is we go and we interview and we do these focus groups and we go in and see around the world how we can solve things. And I think in the end of the day, I'm like, we could do this just on our own, and we didn't even necessarily need to go to school to learn this, to be honest. But I want to. I'm sorry, that was just a little tangent. I do these
fine.
tangents.
But we're on the same page.
Same
Create
page.
your own table. Fuck them people. You don't have to be at the table.
Not just that, but one thing that really interested me in what you talked about, and I heard this in the podcast. I think it was with Sebastian, right?
Sebastian Doran, yes.
Yes, you mentioned defund the police, and I want to say really quick, that brought me back to like George Floyd protests, like back when we were really all saying that, and then the right
This is
seized
what
on
happened.
it, and then people got scared, and I thought, why? Why are we scared? Like we need to keep saying that phrase because there's so much to it, and I want you to explain why you used the phrase defund the police.
So I don't want people to just keep saying the phrase. I
Yeah,
want them to actually get up there and do it
yeah,
because
yeah.
people fail to remember when you have somebody in elect, like when you elect an official, they are responsible to you. You are their constituent. You hold the power. And all like people hold the power. So when people, as you already know, say like, "Oh, my vote doesn't count." Hey, listen, even if you don't feel your vote counts on the presidential level, baby, please, your vote matters when it comes to your city official, your board of supervisor, your Congress member, your state senate, your, all of these things, right? That's one of the things rights and other people love that, there's this miseducation and this misunderstanding of your vote counting. Your vote 100% counts. People would not have been murdered for the right to vote if it did not matter, right? So bringing that back, when we go talking about defund the police, I cannot speak for every single person, every single progressive. For me, defunding the police means, let's use some political words, right? Reallocating funds, taking
Mhm.
some of those funds from police departments and saying, hey, listen, let's reinvest these funds into community-based programs.
Yep.
I don't know why it's a difficult conversation for people and they act like as if it's takes a certain level of intellect to understand. It's very simple. 1 + 1 = 2 math. If
Mm.
we know criminals, right? Because I don't like calling nobody a criminal. If we know someone that has committed a crime, more than likely, based on statistics, data, research that has been done for many years, if we know that these people more than likely experience child abuse as a child, domestic violence, sexual assault, substance abuse, alcoholism, we know that's more often than not the common makeup of somebody that is a reoffender.
Mm.
Why would we keep putting them in the same jails and the same prisons over and over and over and over again instead of, oh yeah, let's just address the root. The root
Mhm.
is, it's not giving an excuse to this person, but the root is I can keep on arresting you for having substances on you when I pull you over as a police officer, or I can keep arresting you for, beating up your girlfriend. I can keep doing that over and over again and just funneling into this prison industrial complex with these private owners. Or I can pour money into a community-based program that addresses the problem that brought you to me as the police officer. And that would be a substance abuse treatment program, domestic violence abuser program, victim program. It's so many different avenues and routes that we, can take and should take. Yesterday, I had the great experience of doing a outreach with Women in Progress. Women in
Mm.
Progress is a organization of formerly incarcerated women that they themselves experience incarceration. They experience losing their children to child protective services. And throughout that process, they themselves learn to reform themselves and rehabilitate themselves. And they came together, they created this organization. So they now go out into the community and they pull other women struggling with, substance abuse, mental health, and these different difficulties. And they pull them into spaces and they help with so many things, right? Everything from helping them, find sober living homes to helping them get glammed up when they come home from prison. It's a whole wraparound service, very beautiful program. Yesterday,
Mhm.
we partnered with Health Right 360's program Prototype. If anyone has heard of that, Prototype, specifically in the city of Pomona, this community is for women and children. You do not have to have a child to be there, but you would need to identify as a woman. And so women and children were participants of this program, and all of the women either had a substance abuse history, domestic violence history, or a mental health history. And we went there just pouring love, giving holiday cheer, hygiene products, some treats, some, cupcakes, all this like great stuff. But we also went there initially before giving out all the treats and the goods and stuff. We shared our lived experiences, right? And we learned that, hey, listen, you too can come out of this situation. You too can come out of this circumstance because, hey, I've been formerly incarcerated, or I've this, or I've that. And as the outpouring of love and understanding from the members, the participants, right? It's a warmth that I want everyone to experience. And I do believe as an elected official, you should be partnered with some programs such as that because again, the degrees will do oh so much. But when you go out into these communities and you actually see the struggle, who rightfully so wants to be addicted to a substance that's taking all their goddamn teeth out their mouth? Who rightfully so wants to, experience domestic violence and have black eyes? Who rightfully so wants to lose their children to child protective services because they're struggling to remain sober? Someone, does not rightfully so want to do that. It is a mental health disorder. It is a mental health disease. And a lot of people do not like to associate substance abuse with mental health disorder. But clearly it has to be a mental health issue, right? Because
Yep.
again, they've lost all their goddamn teeth. Like
Hmm.
somebody that's not struggling with mental health willingly decide to do that every single day. They're struggling with something internally, whether that was child abuse, substance abuse, due to someone introducing it to them. We really don't know, right? But if we get community-based programs, people that come and sit down and have a conversation with them, like you and I are having, letting them know, like, you do matter. I do care about you. Someone
Yeah.
out here does care about you. It brings around the conversation. As I've said, even on Sebastian's podcast, I'm not saying all police officers are bad, but what I am saying is all police officers do not have the amount of dignity and respect that they should have when approaching community members. Some officers clock in,
Mm.
they're tired of whatever because they're upset about whatever in their personal life or with another suspect that they came in contact with. So
Maybe mental health issues too, honestly. Sorry.
if you've had the opportunity to see Sebastian's full podcast, you're going to
Yeah.
learn that I spoke to a very recent incident that happened here in California where an officer injected himself with a substance overdose in the bathroom. And then he was fired he was not jailed, however, he was fired. And then several years later, a few weeks ago, turns out he unfortunately killed his 11-year-old son. This was a police officer
Yeah.
here in California that was on the force. And think of all the violations. You pulled a suspect over, took drugs from that suspect, then you went back to your precinct, injected yourself with the drugs, overdosed, and then when he was being investigated, he admitted to them that he had been struggling with his mental health. He's
Mhm.
tried to lie and say that was I think he tried to lie and say it was his first time injecting himself with a substance. Who cares?
Yeah.
Maybe he was even telling the truth, but he was open about the fact that he came from abuse and he himself was experiencing mental health issues. So how did he even make it on the force to begin with? How did he make it there? And then another great thing is because then I start talking, way too progressive for some people because I start touching on the fact that police officers are not trained to respond to the incidents that they respond to. They don't have to go through and obtain a bachelor's degree, but you need to have that in order to be a teacher, in order to be a social worker, like so many different positions that come into contact with people and come in contact with, someone that may be experiencing a mental health crisis have to have
Mhm.
degrees, but police officers don't. And I'm not pushing and saying like, oh, we have to fire every officer that does not have a bachelor's degree, but I do believe that we have absolute power as community members to say, you know what, nope. Yeah, they need to go through school and they need to go through training and they need to be educated on, mental health. They need to be educated on psychology, sociology,
Yeah.
something because you're coming in contact with people that are in crisis. That's the whole point. These are people
Mm.
in crisis and they're calling you to protect and serve, but some people can't remove their own ignorances and biases. And then we're wondering why Black and brown community members are being shot down and gunned down when an officer responds and they're, well, I feared for my life. Well, what the
Yep.
fuck for? Because you saw a Black or a brown person when you arrived on the scene. Well, I thought they were reaching for a weapon. But then when you saw a white person very clearly with the weapon in their hand, you didn't have a fear for your life. Why not?
Exactly. And I'd say that certain separations, like you're mentioning that they don't need a college bachelor's degree in order to be a police officer, it seems like this is almost a separation from other people, and kind of prevents like this more community mindset. I think it would be really important, like you said, for them to at least like some sort of, I'm not sure exactly what training goes on, but I think there definitely needs to be better training in this situation. And I'd say just to kind of like broaden this even more, the current, and I'll try to tie this back because I think it does come back, is that the Trump administration's focus on drugs, specifically narco trafficking, right? Saying that each boat brings in about what, like kills 40,000. They have like tens of thousands of people apparently that are dying from these drug boats, and they're killing people, and they're doing it in violation of international law. They're not stopping them. They're not checking to see if there's drugs on the boats. And what I'm thinking is, okay, if your goal is to stop people from dying from drug overdoses in the United States, why don't we focus on these things that you're talking about, right? Like, why don't we focus on programs that actually like bring the community together? People can share their experiences, connect, and learn from each other. I mean, even just to share one thing that I really connected with about your story is I've also been wrongfully arrested and went to juvenile hall when I was younger. And I went to a Los Padrinos juvenile hall in Downey. I don't know if that still is an existing one,
Okay.
but that was and that was an experience that really shaped my worldview. I actually, in a way, I'm very grateful for that experience because otherwise I would have never known all
Yep.
the carceral system specifically for younger people. And I find that like incredibly unjust that there are young people stuck in juvenile hall. Like that is incredibly inhumane in my opinion. And the fact that we have, I think, about 20% of the world's incarcerated population and maybe like 3% of the world's population, like that difference is so stark that it makes me think like we really need to focus on our domestic issues instead of going out bombing, selling arms. And I think
We're
to,
going to touch on that.
yeah, yeah, you feel free to go ahead. I'll leave that there.
Don't lose your train of thought.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you because I've got this like Palestine flag in the back. I'm wondering your take on foreign policy and where you stand on all these because I know it's a heated issue. So here, tossing
Okay,
that to
boom, because I caught everything. So let me make sure I
you.
respond to the pieces that you said. So,
Yes.
first of all, I don't believe any facts, any data that is released under the White House that with the current president.
Mhm.
I don't believe shit he be talking about. Him and his administration don't care. I need to see this proof and this data being reported from somebody else, a whole different party, whatever. I say that because this administration, they do not, they're not, there's not a war on drugs. They are not incarcerating and pulling out immigrants and cracking down on immigrants because this drugs is coming into America and absolutely not. First of all, America, you have already proven if it is possible for you to profit from drugs, you will.
Yep.
Can we talk big pharma for a second? So don't
Yes.
act like you give a damn about shutting down drugs and the cartel. No, you don't. And if you actually felt that way, we could then start talking about conversations of the crack epidemic. It's not a conspiracy. The government absolutely put cracks and drugs into black and brown communities. Yes, the fuck you did. And you did that because you were trying to, for one, control population. It is what it is. It was a whole different form of eugenics. You were trying to control population specifically for black and brown community members. These people couldn't afford them drugs. You were dropping it in there, giving them all this dirty shit, getting them addicted because again, population control. I'm not a
Mhm.
conspiracy theorist. However, I'm very much so educated because I have a master's degree in legal studies and I do my research, I do my homework. So
Yep.
again, eugenics is very live and real and it looks different in different retrospects for people. And so anybody that has not studied and looked up eugenics, please do that because you will
Yes.
learn that some people you think are crazy and are just throwing theories out there, you'll realize like, oh no, actually this does make sense. Again, that 1 + 1 = 2. Trump
Mm.
and his administration do not want to crack down on immigrants because all these crimes being committed. No, that's not true. Because if you actually cared about, arresting convicts and locking them up because of the harms, then let's start with the president. Who
Yep.
has 34 convictions, 34 felonies. So if you really, really cared about imprisoning people that are committing crimes, you would have to first lock up the president. So you
Mhm.
actually don't care. You do not care about crime. You do not care about the war on drugs. Like this is all just fear mongering that you're putting out there to the community. Let's start with that. After
Nice.
we go from there, as we, go switch over to I myself, as a progressive, I do not take funds from APAC. I do not take funds from corporate. That includes gas, oil, right?
Thank you.
However, at the exact same time, some people be honest with yourselves. You don't give a damn about Palestine. You don't give a damn about who's collecting money from where. It is yet another conversation that the far right or even just the right has put onto the left and have you guys believing like, oh, well, if this person receives money from this person, then they can't be a progressive. They can't be a Democrat. a lot of you don't even know what you're talking about. You're just having conversations. And I say that because, of course, I see the attacks on certain candidates right now, certain women of color. And it's an attempt to, well, they're partnered with this person and they're doing this and this and that. Listen, America, we got enough of our own problems. And
Mhm.
whether you want to speak as a Christian, there's a scripture that says to focus on the speck in your eye and stop worrying about that speck in other people's. Paraphrasing, but you know exactly what scripture I'm talking about. Why are you
Yeah.
worried about what your neighbor got going on when your house ain't even clean? Then, if
Mm.
you even want to talk about it from that space of an elected official or a community member, again, we have enough problems in America. In America, there is children that are starving. In America, there are women and men and boys and girls that, do not feel safe in their community. They cannot afford their education that they are trying to achieve, whether that's higher education or even grade school. There are Americans that, are struggling with so many different things, everything I've already touched on: mental health, substance abuse, affordability, sustainability. I love and respect everybody all around the world. But baby, until America is cleaned up, until we got our own shit together, you got to deal with that over there in your country because we got to deal with this over here in our country. But I do stand in solidarity and support of no one, Americans or anyone, no one harming, no one, helping pour into, the war within your country. I do not
Mm.
believe that we should be investing anybody's hundreds, thousands, millions, and definitely for damn sure nobody's trillions into a support of war that honestly ain't got nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
Reinvest that money. At the same time, we're having conversations about Americans struggling if they were going to be able to feed their family in the month of November because of these SNAP benefits cut. You have Americans like, well, wait a minute, but didn't we just send a couple million, couple billion, even a couple trillion on some more? And that's the reality. Don't know who's all
Mm.
Tupac fans, but there's a lyric out there. It's talking about paraphrasing, but talking about we have a war on drugs, right? But we have a war on drugs out here, but we can't even feed our own poor.
Yeah.
What you
Yeah.
doing? We need to feed our own poor. You over here worried about this war on drugs, or you're over here worried about this war in this other country, but we need to take care of Americans. So I hope that answered. That was my full around rant because
No.
I just really hate that Americans, whether it's Democrat, Republican, MAGA, really don't care. I really
Yeah.
hate that Americans try to discredit certain candidates at this point because,
Mm.
oh, well, this person accepts APAC money or this person this. Again, I don't. But
Yeah.
that's not a real valid reason. And do you stand behind the other policies this person pushes? Do you stand behind the other issues this person pushes?
Yeah.
Because you don't even realize you are participating in an agenda at this time. Like it's an
Mm.
agenda and you're participating in it because the people that put that thought in your head, oh, I can't support this candidate because they receive APAC money,
Yeah.
that person, they're banking on that. They're banking on you
Mm.
tarnishing this candidate's name. I love that I saw on TikTok the other day, a commentator said, it was a black woman, and she said, listen, we got so much other shit going on right now. She was going in on a very well-respected black commentator. And she was going in on the fact like this black commentator spoke negative about Governor Newsom and spoke negative about Proposition 50. And this black woman that's commenting on this other black woman, she's like, look, we got other shit to worry about right now. You don't have to want Governor Newsom as your president. You don't have to be in support of XYZ, but it's
Yeah.
harmful to be on the platform because this commentator again is on a very large platform. So she's like, it's harmful for you to get in here and to sow discord because some people
Mm.
are not educated and knowledgeable enough to go and do their research and go do their homework. So they're only going to hear, oh, this commentator said no for Prop 50. Oh, this commentator said, they don't support Governor Newsom. And that's all the information they need. And so they're going to go vote no on something, right? Or they're going to go vote against somebody instead of doing their homework. So we always have to be careful when we have a platform and a space to be able to speak out. Again, bringing that full circle, that's the same thing that's happening with this conversation regarding Palestine or any other country. Again, love, respect, solidarity. But baby, I'm not worried about you right now because I need to worry about my own home. I need to worry about my own country. I need to make sure the babies here are fed. I need to make sure the community here is taken care of. But I do
Yeah.
solidarity with you.
Yeah, I think that the one thing where I would maybe state that APAC does have an impact is in terms of Jamal Bowman or Corey Bush or certain members that have been. I mean, from what we've seen, there's been millions spent against them by APAC in a way that is outweighs other lobbyists or other PACs. I would say that there seems to be this kind of combativeness against progressive candidates when it comes to APAC and JPAC and things like that. And so I think that that's at least where I'm coming from is I think that we do need to be vigilant about which candidates are taking the small donor donations because
For
I
me, it's
think those.
zero. Make that clear. I don't take.
Yeah. No, I think that's important. I mean, like I look at Zoran Mamdani, his campaign and the way that they just completely uh they blew up and they took so much individual donors that I think that that's kind of the way to go for progressives. I also worry a lot. I mean, all of us are about Citizens United that still is impacting politics to this day. So I think that where I stand, I understand a lot of these purity tests can fracture the left, and I think it's difficult at times to just like sit down and say this is our priority. But I agree with you, and one thing that I agree with you in a major way is universal health care, and I want to talk about that because I want to ask, does that mean Medicare for all, or is there a difference there in terms of what you've mentioned in your website?
No, I mean, people
Yeah.
gonna think I'm absolutely radical and crazy. I don't think nobody should have to pay for food, water, or healthcare. If I needed to survive, why the fuck am I paying for it? I need to eat. Like, I need to eat in order to
Yeah.
live. I need to drink water in order to live. And I need to be medically well in order to live. So, if you really want my opinion, I know we don't have the money and the resources as a country in some formats to do this, but no, I don't believe you should be paying for food. I don't believe you should be paying for water. And I don't believe you should be paying for healthcare. Why? Like,
Mm.
we need it to live, right? Like, we turn away people that are diagnosed with cancer or this or that because, oh, they don't have the money, they don't have the resources for their treatment, for their chemo. Oh, so just fuck them, fuck their life. Like, why?
Mm.
But then at the
Mm.
same time, this is the same country that says, oh, let's overturn Roe versus Wade because, these babies and healthcare and all these conversations are supposed to be mingling, but it's like you can't say you support life and you're
Yeah.
pro-life, but then the people that are living here on this country and on this planet already, in this country already, you're not taking care of them. So why are we
Mm.
going to keep adding to the population and we can't even take care of the population that's here? So no, give everybody goddamn free healthcare and give everybody free food and give everybody free water. And I'm being funny,
Yeah.
but I'm being serious because it's
Yeah.
like, why withhold something that again can help someone live? Like,
Yeah.
I withhold that. Sit down and let's be honest, you don't really have to figure out where the funds are going to come from.
Mm.
There is there's been a lot of research and a lot of data and a lot of things pulled forward over years and years of how this can be done and how this can be performed. Other
Mm.
countries have shown how this can be done. We are too great of a resource. We are too advanced in modernized technology as a country for there to be still conversations about certain nuanced things that make zero sense. Like zero sense. So no,
Yeah.
I do believe in free healthcare for all. I believe in free education for all. Listen, if you
Yeah.
don't sit down and you go through the grueling process of obtaining yourself an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a Juris Doctorate, a PhD, a high school diploma, I don't care, whatever you earned it. You shouldn't have to pay for it. Like I do not see the reasoning and the understanding behind that. I don't care if it's a trade program. I mean, just think about it. Whenever the president feels like it anyways, he can go say that your degree don't matter. Didn't he
Yeah.
just come for nurses and said, oh, their degrees don't matter? So you make up the rules as you go along. So
Yeah.
make up the rules as you go along, erase everybody's debt. I am very much so in support
Let's go.
of suspending student loan debt.
Yeah.
Side note, but I'm gonna have to tell you guys, a lot of people came for Biden and his administration saying that they did not actually forgive student loan debt. And that is a lie because
Mm.
Trump and his administration and people, on the Republican Party did stop a lot of things. However, I myself, I had six-figure debt. I don't even remember the amount, but I had six-figure debt of student loans. Biden and his administration forgave 70 odd thousand dollars. I'm not endorsed by Biden. I never met
Yeah.
this man. I don't know nobody part of his administration. This is my truth and my reality. I applied for my student debt relief. I got 70 odd thousand dollars forgiven. I still owe like close to 60,000. That's a whole thing under the Sweets lawsuit that hopefully that gets forgiven too. But I say that because people that have not experienced this, like, well, why would I forgive someone student loan debt? Like they went to school. First of all, you had no business giving me 18 years old. You have no business giving me six-figure loan student debt. Like, why did you
Yeah.
do that? If I'm not even old enough to drink, why did you think I was responsible enough to pay you back six-figure student loans? Like, it's not that I was incompetent. I'm not saying that, but I didn't understand the harsh realities of how that was going to then later cripple me and place me in debt, how it was going to affect my mental health. And that's
Yes.
Americans that are crabs in a barrel do not understand. They look at it as, well, I pay back my student loans. Well, good for you, fucking Tom, Dick, and Harry. There's other people that after they graduated school, they did not have the luxury and the reality of nepotism. And they
Yeah.
did not have somebody that could help plug them into a job that paid them six figures. Some of us really did pursue higher education, receive great grades. I was Dean's List every single one of my degrees. That did not guarantee me a job. But when I first pursued education as a child coming from poverty, I was always told to go after my college degree, to, that was going to be my way of success. That was going to be my way out. I was going to make all this great money. That's what we were told. So we pursued these degrees, believing that, understanding that. And then as soon as we start obtaining these degrees, the goalposts kept moving. Anybody notice how at first it used to be, oh, an associate's degree required. Now it's a bachelor's degree required. Now it's a master's degree required. People will sit here and tell you need to have a master in the state of California. You will have employers telling you need a master's degree. And then these bastards will turn around and tell you that they only going to pay you 23 or $24 an hour.
Hmm.
How am I supposed to pay back the student loan debt? It took me a six-figure student loan debt to get the master's degree. And then you're not even giving me enough in salary for me to be able to pay my rent, to be able to pay my bills, to be able to pay my car note, my car insurance, feed my kids. We are our own problem in
Oh
America.
yeah.
That's why we ain't got no money to be given to these other countries. We need to figure out the deficits and the crisis here. We also need to understand when you forgive student loan debt, that relieving someone of debt, putting someone on an equal footing, it reduces mental health issues. I'm a
Yeah.
witness to that because of my own life experience. You're no longer walking with this dark gloom and cloud over your head of like, how am I going to afford this? How am I going to afford that? Do I pay my rent this month or do I pay my student loan? Do I pay my student loan this month or do I, buy the groceries that I really need? Like we start to have a freedom mentally, emotionally to be able to make some wiser decisions. And guess what? When someone no longer needs to pay into that student loan debt, they are recycling that money into the economy because now they're, paying for other goods and other services. So we all benefit from
Mhm.
student loan debt relief. And that's my it on that tangent for me because I hate people that again have that crab in a barrel mentality and they don't believe student loan debt relief is something that people should have. They absolutely should have it.
My thing is with arguments like that, where it's like, oh, I went to school, I paid for it. First of all, there's a concept of inflation, right? So it's not the same. And specifically, like I was watching a video somewhere on TikTok, they went around asking people, how much was your first home? People are going around saying 30,000. When did you buy it? In the 70s. It's like, what? What universe is that? That's completely different from now. And I think that in terms of us, you know, having these arguments, certain people having these arguments that are like, yeah, I went to school, you should be able to pay for it as well. It's like, you know, the people who are profiting off of this love to have people that will spout those narratives. And it's like, you're not even getting the money from that. You're not getting the interest. Why are you working as a salesperson for that system that doesn't work? That doesn't work for people. And I think that as we progress in this late stage capitalist society, it seems like the mask comes off more and more, which in a way is frightening. I think these last few years have been terrifying. Specifically, this 2025 has been a mind fuck, really a mind fuck. I mean, I think even in my head, like I imagined that things could get this bad, but to see things really getting there, is it blows my mind that we are at this place. I don't know where we're going to go from here, but I guess I'll leave it at that. I know we've covered a lot, and we could start wrapping this up, but I kind of want to hear like where do you see us going from here? Like maybe the optimistic version or not. I don't know. I just want to hear your thoughts and anything else you want to share before we kind of close it out.
Yeah. So I actually think we are headed for greatness in America that America has never had. So even the podcast you heard me speak on the other day, for one, America has never been great. America has never been great because it has always been systematically oppressive, harmful, racist, sexist, da da da. However, America is headed towards greatness because you have individuals that are refusing to take that anymore. And I'm very specifically speaking to millennials, such as myself, very specifically speaking to Gen Z and Gen Alpha. I tell her I am so excited that as the next generation is coming up and on its way to make it to the ability to vote, they're making their way to the ballots and the polls. I'm excited because I know that the generations of millennials, Gen Z, and beyond, and after they there's a different fight and there is a different amount of fierceness and boldness for what some others. Now, again,
Yeah.
no age discrimination or anything like that. However, boomers, Gen X, you already know where I'm going with this. A lot of you are political dinosaurs. You've
Yeah.
sat in office.
I'm Gen X though.
Listen, hold on. Let me finish
No,
my
I'm
statement
kidding.
before you think. Because what happened is there is a lot of Gen X boomers and beyond. There's a lot of them that have sat in office for 20 plus years and ain't did shit. You've been in office just literally based off a name alone.
Mhm.
That's not sufficient. When you have conversations with millennial, Gen Z, you already know we're not going for that shit. Okay. I don't care who your daddy is. What have you done for our country? What have you done for our community? What have you done for our district? You haven't done anything. Oh, you got to go. Now, if you are a boomer, a Gen Xer, or whatever, and you know that you've been putting on for the city, you've been putting on for the state, the country, we're not talking to you. We're not talking to you. Those that there are some very strong, great elders that are in office doing community work and all of that stuff. It's never directed at you.
Yeah.
If it don't apply, you let it fly. Like, the majority, I'm going to say the majority of those generations, I am talking to you. We are talking to you
Yeah.
because you do sit cute, mute, and idle when harms
Mhm.
are happening. And if you're silent, you are just as guilty of the people that are committing the harms physically or, through legislation, whatever. You're just as guilty because you're not speaking up and you're not speaking out. So
Yeah.
I'm excited because alongside myself, there is so many amazing men and women that are running for office in 2026. Like I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, like they're like we're tired, and we're not just saying we're because you could say you tired and not really be tired, right? So it's not only are we tired, we are actively doing something about how tired we are.
Who are some of the best or your favorite ones running right now? Just like, do you have like
I
any
just told
race?
you, you missed it. You missed it, Johnny. I said me. So
Oh yeah.
and I only say that because at this time, listen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it real with you. Nobody is getting no free press out of me. So, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Nobody getting no free press out of me. But what I will say, and I'm serious, I ain't even laughing about that. What I will
Yeah.
say is I am hoping to have endorsement and support of some of these great candidates that I want to genuinely see win. Some districts, some areas, not even just for Congress, but specifically Congress, for example, in California. I see a few great candidates in some districts, and I don't really know who I want, right? So I don't want to say one name and then people think, oh, that's who I'm endorsing because in some
Yeah.
of these seats, there are a few great, strong Democrat candidates, and it's like it's like you almost can't go wrong. It's like, dang, I want this person to win, but if they don't, I'm still very happy with this person. So yeah, on a serious note, it's just I don't want anyone to think I'm like gearing towards one candidate or the other because some of the people have great problems and their with their problem being I don't know which one to choose because they're both great. Now,
Yeah.
for me in my district, for California Congress 41, I'm your only girl. Like don't have a better candidate to vote for but me. So I'm gonna vote me. And
Are
I
you the only Democrat in the in this
So at this
primary?
time, I'm actually the only registered candidate,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's a strong but.
Okay.
There is an incumbent from another district that is she has publicly announced that she will be running in this race. I'm waiting for her, very, very patiently waiting for her because as soon as she announces she is running, which technically she already has, but I'm still trying to let it be like a hard launch instead of a soft launch. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting into a political debate because I don't want to just talk my shit and say I'm the best candidate for this seat. I don't want to say I'm going to be like, I want to have an open discord, you and I, of if you've been in office in District 38 for 23 years, please show me what you've done for the past 23 years in that.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
You ain't did nothing great for that district, and baby, you haven't because I did homework. If you ain't did nothing great for that district, why are you coming up over here in this new seat that we Californians fought very hard under Prop
Yeah.
50 to get? Why are you coming up over here? Stay in your seat and run.
Mm. Hmm.
But I know who your opponent is, and you not whooping her ass. So,
Yeah.
so there's that. You know, if you know, you know. I know who your opponent is, and I know you're not whooping her. So
Mm.
again, some people, some politicians, because we could go back to they
Yeah.
instead of running against other strong candidates and XYZ, because again, those partnerships and those relationships, they will go and say, "Oh, we want new leaders, and we want the generation, the new generation, the younger generation to get involved." Well, guess what?
Mm.
Now you have a articulate, well-educated, community-based mindset, grassroots organizer with lived experience running for District 41.
Let's go.
Why would you, after being in Congress for 23 years, why would you sit here and say, "Oh, I want new leaders"? Why are you
Mm.
running up against me then? Because people ask, "Are you running against her?" No, I'm not running against her. She's vacating her seat and she's coming and running over here. So do you want new leaders? Do you want new voices or not? Or, oh, do you only want the ones that you think deserve to have the seat? But with that, that will give you
Yeah.
something to watch and look forward to because this campaign
Yes.
is going to be fun. It's politics. So I don't need to wear gloves. Like this ain't no friendly fight. So
Mm.
whoever runs, whoever steps into the ring at this time, again, I'm the only registered candidate. There's no registered Republicans, and I'm the only registered Democrat. Because it's a solid blue seat, I'll be surprised if a Republican does run. If so, that's an easy dust. That's an easy, whatever. But then if, even if the Democrat runs, I do know the two candidates that have publicly announced themselves. They have not officially registered,
Mm.
but I am looking forward to them officially registering. Open up conversation and dialogue, having a debate, whatever it's going to look like to show constituents and community members, yeah, let's go policy for policy. Fuck relationship for relationship. I sure don't know a lot of the people that you know in political office, and that's the problem. I want to go
Can I,
policy issue for issue. Let's do that.
I gotta say, I'm all politics out right now. I can't talk any more politics, you
Yeah,
know?
it's boring after a while.
But I gotta ask you, just like one fun fact about yourself that you could share, like in case someone who's watching who isn't into politics can say, "Oh, that's cool."
One fun fact about myself. Oh, you know what? This ain't even a fun fact, but I'm gonna say it. I am 5 foot even, guys. Every time someone sees me in person, they're like, "Oh my God, you're so tiny. I thought you were like, oh, you hold yourself tall." I'm 5 foot even. So
Wow.
that's always surprising for people when they first meet me via social media or something. When they see me in person, yeah, I'm 5 foot even. So yes.
That's perfect. Me too.
No, really.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't even look like you genuinely do not look little. So how tall are you?
No, I appreciate you coming on the show. You're the first person here. I'm like really excited to post this, and I'm looking forward to seeing your candidacy, your race. I think you're going to do an incredible job. I think you're going to win. I'm
Gotta,
knock on
gotta
wood, but
keep
you
that
got it.
consistent.
Yeah.
And look, I'm gonna tell you, look, I love inviting myself back into people's spaces.
Yeah.
Have me back. I don't
Yes.
know when, but definitely before my primary, which is going to be June 2nd of 2026. Have me back, check in, see how the campaign is going. I would love to. Any of your followers, your fans, when they're asking you questions about me, compile all that for me. So when we get back together and have another conversation, I could do a share out responding directly to, the community members and whatever questions and concerns. Hey, it could be policy related. It could be about my personal life. I'm pretty much an open book unless I just don't want you in my business. But other than that, I'm all here. This is my personality, online, offline. I am really just an everyday community member that again does have the knowledge and the education to run for Congress. That's why I'm running. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I know I'm a very great representative of the community because I'm right here, a part of the community. So
You're awesome. You're awesome. And I thank you for that idea, just general idea of having like people come back on the show and do like question and answer. I think that's really cool. Maybe
Yeah.
like in the comments, we can have people just whatever questions you have, whatever you want us to address, drop them and we'll get to it in a few months.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely invite anybody you interview, definitely invite them back because one thing I've
Yeah.
learned when I'm watching podcasts such as the Far Left Show, when I'm watching, there is certain things where I'm like, oh, I wish they would have elaborated on that, or oh, wait, I got a question about this. You know, people be like, well, what she was formerly incarcerated for, I know it was wrongful as a victim of domestic violence.
Mhm.
Then they're like, well, what happened? Well, unfortunately, my abuser beat me unconscious, even though I had an active restraining order against them. I called the police and we were both arrested and only charges pressed against me. I was on my last podcast. I didn't think for some space to like elaborate on that because I
Yeah.
speak about it so matter of factly since I've already healed from it. But people watching wanted to know more information. It's like, oh yeah, that actually makes more sense, huh? So
Wow.
so we
Oh
get
my God.
ideas later sometimes after we've already, had our great conversation. So again, just welcoming whatever conversations people have, whether it's related to my policies, my issues, my campaign, or even my personal life up to the extent I'm comfortable sharing.
Thank you so much. Shonique Williams. Am I saying it right? Shonique
Yeah.
Williams?
Shonique Williams, candidate
Perfect. For CA 41.
CA 41. That is the
Let's
new
go. Let's
CA
go.
41 as a result of Prop 50. So thank you, everybody that voted yes on Prop 50. You opened up this seat for me. You opened up this opportunity. Now let's just get me elected.
Let's go. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next time.
I'll see you next time.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.